Picture this. You're sitting behind the wheel of a vehicle that weighs over 3.2 tons. I mean, it is an absolute undeniable behemoth.
The literal rolling fortress.
Right. But you press the accelerator, and this fortress hits 100 kilometers an hour in exactly 3.9 seconds.
Which shouldn't be physically possible for something that size.
Exactly. And then you pull up to a dead-end street, and instead of doing a clumsy, agonizing three-point turn, the car simply rotates in place, like a compass needle.
Or you just slide sideways into a parallel parking spot that is technically tighter than a compact car's turning radius.
Yeah. And right above your head, there is a built-in roof dock for a DJI drone. It takes off, films your drive, and autonomously lands itself while you are still cruising down the highway. Welcome to the deep dive.
It is going to be a fun one today.
It is, because today we are looking at a total paradigm shift in the rapidly evolving world of premium electrified mobility. We are specifically focusing on BYD's luxury sub-brand, Denza.
And to be clear to everyone listening, this is a shift that is completely upending the global automotive hierarchy. We're looking closely at Denza's new flagship SUV, the N9, along with its aggressive global expansion via the D9 People Mover.
Yep.
But what we are really talking about today is a philosophical rewrite of what the word luxury actually means. For the last century, automotive luxury meant heritage.
Right, the old school stuff.
Yeah, a hood ornament, hand-stitched leather, some exotic wood trim from an endangered tree, and a massive, rumbling internal combustion engine. But that era is ending. Today, as we're going to explore, software is the new leather. Luxury is now defined by extreme system integration, massive computing power, and an ecosystem that adapts to you in real time.
I love that framing. Software is the new leather. Let's start by sizing up the 2026 Denza N9. And I mean that literally because I was looking at the dimensions. And this thing is a leviathan.
It truly is. You are looking at a full-size SUV measuring 5.258 meters long. That is over 207 inches, resting on a massive 3.125-meter wheelbase.
Huge.
Just to put that physical footprint in perspective for you, it is slightly longer than a long wheelbase Range Rover or Mercedes-Benz EQS SUV. It's a heavyweight designed to command presence on the road.
But driving a brick of that size usually murders your aerodynamics and, your battery range. How do they manage that visual mass without it looking and driving like a shipping container?
That is where the design language comes in. It's spearheaded by Wolfgang Egger.
Oh, right.
Yeah, auto enthusiasts will know him from his era-defining work at Alfa Romeo and Audi. The design philosophy is called elegant momentum, which, is standard PR fluff, but they've implemented very specific aerodynamic tricks to cheat the wind.
Like what?
Well, for instance, the active grille shutter automatically opens and closes to balance thermal cooling with aerodynamic drag, and the door handles are entirely flush with the bodywork. But the visual element that really hides the mass is the paint technology.
The multi-layer nano coating, I was actually fascinated by this detail. They have a two-tone option called Livua Silver or Green Silver. Depending on the ambient lighting and the angle you view it from, it shifts from a deep, rich emerald green to a stark titanium silver gray.
Yeah, the design team claims it was inspired by polar auroras colliding with metallic tech.
Which sounds a bit like marketing poetry.
Oh, it is pure marketing poetry.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, the actual visual effect is undeniably striking.
And that striking exterior is really just a setup for what they call the high-tech sanctuary inside. It features a 2+2+2 6-seat layout, but calling them seats feels, totally inadequate.
They're more like first-class airline pods.
Seriously, the front passenger is treated to a zero-gravity seat designed to perfectly distribute weight and relieve pressure points. You are swathed in Napa leather, and the seats across the first and second rows don't just offer standard heating and ventilation. They provide complex, multi-point massages.
Right, but the leather and the massages are just table stakes in this segment.
Yeah.
Every luxury car has good leather. The digital real estate in this cabin is where my software is the new leather concept really hits you.
Walk us through the screens.
Gladly. There is a 17.3-inch central floating screen, then a 13.2-inch digital cluster for the driver, and another separate 13.2-inch screen dedicated solely to the passenger.
And if that wasn't enough, there is a 50-inch augmented reality head-up display.
Exactly, projected right onto the windshield. The physical dashboard is essentially becoming obsolete. It's being replaced by augmented reality and adaptive screens.
And what about the rear passengers?
Oh, they get a 17.3-inch screen that folds down from the ceiling. You also have a 26-speaker Devialet sound system, providing studio-level acoustic engineering.
Which is insane.
And nestled in the center console is an 11-liter smart fridge that uses an independent compressor to cool drinks down to -6 degrees Celsius, or warm food up to 50 degrees Celsius.
So it really isn't just a car anymore. It's a mobile office for an executive on a Tuesday and a private cinema lounge for a family on a Saturday. But here is where my brain starts to glitch a little bit.
Let me guess, the physics of it all.
Yes. Moving all of that luxury, moving 3.2 tons of metal, glass, lithium, and computing power requires a monumental amount of energy. The numbers on the N9's powertrain basically defy physics.
They really do. Let's break down the plug-in hybrid version, the PHEV. It utilizes BYD's 5th generation DM, or dual mode technology. They have paired a 2.0-liter turbocharged internal combustion engine with 3 independent electric motors.
1 in the front and 2 in the rear.
Correct.
And I noticed a very specific metric regarding that 2.0-liter engine, a 44.13% thermal efficiency. For you listening who aren't constantly reading engineering white papers, why is that number significant?
Oh, it is a massive engineering flex. I love this part. Thermal efficiency is just a measure of how much of the energy in a drop of fuel is actually converted into forward motion rather than being lost as heat or noise. Most standard internal combustion engines sit somewhere around 30 to 35%. Pushing past 40% used to be strictly the domain of Formula One race cars.
Wow.
Yeah, so hitting 44.13% in a consumer SUV means this engine is extracting an almost unbelievable amount of usable energy from every single drop of gasoline.
Which explains how they are generating this kind of speed. With the combustion engine and the 3 electric motors working together, you are looking at a combined output of around 912 to 925 horsepower.
That's 680 kilowatts of power, generating over 1,000 Newton meters of torque.
That is how a vehicle this incredibly heavy sprints from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 3.9 seconds. That is supercar territory in a 6-seat family hauler.
And if that isn't fast enough for you, the fully electric BEV version strips out the gas engine entirely and pushes the total output to an astonishing 951 horsepower.
That is just ridiculous.
It is. But the PHEV version is particularly interesting because it completely eliminates the concept of range anxiety. It utilizes a 46.9 kilowatt-hour Blade battery.
And the Blade battery is crucial here, right? Because it uses lithium iron phosphate, or LFP chemistry, which is far more stable than traditional lithium-ion.
Precisely. The Blade structure essentially makes the battery pack a structural component of the chassis, increasing rigidity. It is also famously resistant to thermal runaway. It can literally be pierced by a nail without catching fire.
Good to know when you're driving a mobile living room.
Definitely. Now, on purely electric power from that battery, the N9 can travel about 202 to 230 kilometers. But when you combine that battery with a full tank of gas utilizing that hyper-efficient engine, the total combined range stretches to between 3,302 and 330 kilometers.
So you could drive across a substantial portion of a continent without stopping to charge or refuel.
Basically, yes.
Okay, the straight line speed and the range are incredible, but driving a 5.2-meter SUV in a dense city usually feels like piloting a barge down a canal. It's stressful. This is where the platform underneath it all really captured my attention.
Yes. The E3 platform, also known as Yisanfang. This is where Denza really flexes its technological superiority. Because the N9 utilizes 3 independent electric motors, the vehicle's computer can achieve millisecond torque vectoring.
Meaning what exactly?
It means the car can independently calculate and deliver the exact optimal amount of power or braking to each individual wheel at any given fraction of a second.
Okay.
When you combine that computational power with an independent rear-wheel steering system that can pivot up to 20 degrees, it unlocks dynamic capabilities that simply shouldn't exist on a vehicle of this size.
It is hilarious to think about. This massive 3.2-ton Fortress has a turning radius of just 4.65 meters. That is comparable to a subcompact hatchback.
Better than some hatchbacks, actually.
Right. If you are stuck down a narrow alleyway, you can execute what they call a compass U-turn. The car literally spins around its own front axle to reverse direction.
And then there is the crab walk,
The crab walk.
where the vehicle can glide diagonally at a 15-degree angle. Slipping into a tight parallel parking space is no longer a multi-step geometry problem. You just slide in sideways.
It sounds like a great party trick. But it's important to understand that this same hardware serves a profound safety function too.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny to think about crab walking into a parallel park to impress your friends. But that exact same independent motor control is what keeps this 3.2-ton tank from rolling over in a catastrophic scenario.
Like a blowout.
Exactly. Imagine suffering a high-speed tire blowout at 180 kilometers an hour. Traditionally, the sudden drag on one corner of the car violently pulls the steering, often leading to a rollover.
Especially in a top-heavy SUV.
Right. But with the E3 platform, the sensors detect the blowout instantly. The millisecond torque vectoring automatically cuts power to the blown tire and violently redistributes power and counter steering to the remaining 3 wheels. The system reacts so rapidly that the SUV stays perfectly straight.
It turns a potentially fatal accident into a minor inconvenience.
That's the power of software integration.
That is an incredible application of the technology. The hardware is clearly world-class, but let's pivot to the software running the show, because it is just as wild.
No, it's a supercomputer.
It really is. The N9 features the God's Eye B Advanced Driver Assistance System running on the D-Pilot 300 platform. And the brain powering all of this is an NVIDIA Orin X chip that delivers 254 TOPS of computing power.
To put 254 TOPS, or trillion operations per second, into perspective, you are essentially strapping several high-end, liquid-cooled gaming PCs into the dashboard just to process what the car's sensors are seeing in real time.
And it has a lot to look at. The sensor suite is bristling with hardware. It has a 128-line LiDAR unit mounted on the roof, 5mm wave radars, 12 ultrasonic sensors, and 14 high-definition cameras.
All of that data feeding into the NVIDIA chip allows the car to perform mapless urban navigation. It doesn't rely on pre-programmed high-definition maps that quickly become outdated the second a city changes a traffic pattern.
It just reads the road.
Exactly. The car can see and navigate complex, chaotic city intersections, negotiate roundabouts, and thread through narrow, unpredictable streets in real time, relying entirely on its own visual and radar processing. And naturally, it can automatically park itself in practically any scenario.
Now, I have to bring up a feature that made me genuinely skeptical when I first read about it. The smart anti-dizziness and motion sickness system.
I knew we'd get to this.
We've all been in cars that make us feel a little green, especially in modern EVs where the instant, violent torque can really mess with your equilibrium.
Yeah.
But curing car sickness with adaptive suspension and perfume, does this actually work, or is it just more marketing magic?
I am usually the first one to call out marketing nonsense, but it actually works. It is a brilliant piece of integrated biological engineering.
Really?
Yeah, you have to understand why motion sickness happens. It occurs when there is a disconnect between what your eyes are seeing and what the vestibular system inside your inner ear is feeling.
Okay, that makes sense.
So the N9 tackles this by linking the vehicle's DiSus-A predictive air suspension directly to the cabin environment. The front-facing cameras are constantly scanning the road ahead for potholes, bumps, or dips. In milliseconds, the system adjusts the shock absorbers to perfectly counter the terrain.
So it flattens the road mechanically?
Mechanically, yes. But at the exact same time, the car's central computer actively manages the acceleration and regenerative braking to prevent sudden, nausea-inducing jerks. Furthermore, it synchronizes the cabin lighting, triggers specific calming fragrances through the HVAC system, and adjusts the suspension damping to give your brain perfectly consistent sensory cues.
That's unbelievable.
It physically smooths out the ride while creating an environmental neurohack to prevent nausea.
That is wild. And what is perhaps more impressive is that these features aren't static. Look at Denza's D9 People Mover. They pushed this exact anti-sickness tech, along with smart EV route planning and a new Security Sentinel mode, to existing older models via standard OTA or over-the-air update.
Which is huge. Cars used to be depreciating assets the second you drove them off the lot.
Right.
Now they are actively appreciating in capability.
That is the defining characteristic of this new era of luxury. The hardware is just the foundational canvas. The software dictates the experience, and that experience continuously improves over time.
Very true.
But we cannot discuss the N9's technological ecosystem without discussing the most outlandish integration of all.
The drone.
Oh, I've been waiting for this. The DJI drone integration. Denza called it the Spirit Kite system. The N9 literally features a specialized roof-mounted dock for a DJI drone.
It is so extra, and I kind of love it.
You can launch the drone directly from the central touchscreen while you are driving. It will take off, fly alongside the SUV to shoot cinematic, sweeping video of your road trip, and then autonomously track the vehicle and land back in its roof dock while you are still moving down the highway.
It sounds like science fiction. But if we connect this to the broader sociological shift in luxury, it actually makes perfect sense.
How so?
Well, think about traditional old money luxury. It was all about privacy. You bought a long wheelbase sedan, you tinted the windows black, and you hid in the back seat behind a privacy curtain.
Very true.
But the new luxury demographic, The tech executive, the crypto millionaire, the modern lifestyle pioneer, they don't want to hide. They want to create content. They want to document and share their lifestyle, vlog their commute.
Yeah, if it's not on social media, it didn't happen.
Exactly. Traditional automakers might offer a branded umbrella hidden in the doorframe. Denza offers a dynamic, follow-shooting aerial drone. It is a completely different value proposition for a completely different generation of wealth.
And speaking of value propositions, we need to talk about the ultimate market disruptor here, the price. Because when someone hears about a 912 horsepower, tri-motor, crab-walking luxury SUV with an integrated drone dock and a zero-gravity massage cabin,
You assume it's an astronomical multi-$100,000 price tag.
yeah, naturally. But the market positioning of the Denza N9 is brutally aggressive. In China, the N9 is priced between 389,800 and 449,800 RMB. That converts to roughly 54,000 to 62,000 US dollars.
It's absurd.
Wait, $54,000? That is genuinely hard to comprehend given the hardware we just discussed.
It is a total shock to the system.
Uh-uh.
Locally, it is competing fiercely against domestic heavyweights like the AITO M9 and the Li Auto L9. But the real existential dread is happening in places like Munich and Stuttgart.
With the legacy brands.
Yep. Let's look at a legacy equivalent like the BMW X7. In China, an imported X7 costs well over 1 million RMB. The Denza N9 is offering significantly more technology, vastly more power, a far more advanced software architecture, and zero range anxiety for less than half the price of the European giant.
Yeah, half the price.
This isn't just competition. It is textbook market disruption.
And Denza isn't just keeping this disruption contained within China's borders. We are seeing a massive, highly strategic global offensive, particularly utilizing the D9 people mover.
Oh, the D9 is making waves globally.
They recently launched the fully electric D9 in Australia, pricing it from about 85,990 to 95,990 Australian dollars. They're aiming squarely at the dominant players in that luxury van segment, like the Lexus LM and the Mercedes-Benz V-Class.
And it comes fully loaded with those second-row massaging captain's chairs and V2L vehicle-to-load power.
Which means you can literally plug heavy-duty appliances directly into your minivan while camping or tailgating.
It's a massive power bank on wheels.
Right.
We're also seeing a very calculated push into Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Take the recent launch in the Philippines.
Right.
They brought the D9 in as a plug-in hybrid, priced at 4.298 million Philippine pesos, complete with an aggressive introductory offer for the first 300 customers. But pay attention to how they launched it.
How was that?
They didn't just quietly park it in a Manila showroom with some balloons. They launched it with a live, exclusive performance by the Manila Symphony Orchestra.
Wow, okay.
They are very deliberately utilizing the cultural signifiers of old-world luxury to cement Denza's status as a top-tier aspirational brand. They are telling the market, we belong here.
So, synthesizing everything we've talked about today, the insane power, the E3 torque vectoring, the NVIDIA computing, the drone docks, and the ruthless pricing. Why does this matter to the global automotive landscape?
Because it represents a fundamental, permanent, structural shift. For a very long time, the prevailing narrative was that Chinese automakers were simply imitating Western luxury paradigms.
Right, trying to replicate the leather quality, the wood grain, the heritage feel of an S-Class or a Range Rover.
Exactly. The N9 proves they are no longer imitating. They have leapfrogged the imitation phase and are actively creating an entirely new luxury paradigm. This new standard is based on rapid technological integration, software-defined architectures, and the democratization of elite performance.
Software is the new leather.
Exactly. When a $54,000 SUV can out-accelerate, out-compute, and outmaneuver a million-yuan legacy vehicle, the old rules of the automotive hierarchy simply cease to apply. Western automakers can no longer coast on their century-old heritage.
It is a wild time to be watching this industry evolve. To quickly recap our deep dive today for you listening, Denza has built a 3.2-ton luxury fortress in the N9 that packs over 900 horsepower, can crab walk sideways into a parking space, deploys an autonomous drone from its roof, and utilizes predictive air suspension and neurohacks to cure your car sickness.
It's quite the resume.
And they are exporting this vision globally, challenging the very core of what makes a car premium.
It truly is a rolling supercomputer. But I want to leave you, our listener, with a final thought to mull over. Something that challenges this entire concept.
Let's hear it.
If the new definition of luxury is strictly tied to processing power, NVIDIA chips, constant OTA updates, and integrated software ecosystems rather than mechanical heritage, How long will it be before luxury cars' value is judged exactly like a high-end smartphone?
Oh.
We all know how quickly a 5-year-old smartphone feels hopelessly obsolete. What does that mean for the resale value, the digital security, and the actual longevity of these rolling supercomputers 5 or 10 years down the road when the tech inevitably ages? Are these cars worth the money long-term, or is it just clever, disposable tech marketing?
Wow, that is a fascinating question. When the processing power gets old, does the luxury fade with it? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. It's been an incredible look at the rapidly arriving future of mobility, and we invite you to keep exploring this fascinating shift in global automotive tech.
And if you disagree with my take on smartphone obsolescence, hit subscribe and argue with me in the comments down below.
Catch you next time.